Hey, it's John. Welcome back to my channel, and today I am thrilled to bring you a video documenting the entire extension of the Brightline network from Cocoa, Florida to Orlando International Airport. This is the first step in Brightline's plan to extend intercity passenger rail across the state of Florida, but it is also the first new mainline trackage built by a private passenger rail operator in this country in well over half a century. The Orlando extension is approximately at the halfway point in construction, and it is scheduled to open in 2022. Now, for a brief overview of Brightline, they're a private passenger railroad that is owned by Fortress Investment Group. Prior to the start of passenger service in January of 2018, Fortress owned both Brightline and the Florida East Coast Railway, which hosts Brightline, and this allowed for a very unique passenger service to be developed. Unlike the rest of the United States, where private freight railroads' attitudes towards passenger trains range from indifferent to actively hostile, a cooperative relationship between a private passenger railroad and a freight railroad facilitated by a common owner is something that is very hard to replicate in this country. But regardless of all that, Brightline has very ambitious plans for future expansion. In addition to an extension along the Florida East Coast up to Jacksonville, they're also planning to add service to Walt Disney World and Tampa. The first section of the extension to Tampa can be seen with the tail track south of the future Orlando International Airport intermodal station, but as the route through Orlando will be finalized in July of this year, we'll leave that to a future video. Brightline also has plans to build out an electrified high-speed line between Las Vegas, Nevada and Apple Valley, California. Dubbed Brightline West, this project is expanding on the former Express West plan of building a new railway along Interstate 15, similar to the Orlando extension we're about to see. They're looking to break ground on the project in 2021, but again, that's definitely worth its own video. The main lesson here is that aside from the Florida East Coast Railway, Brightline's future plans only include operating over new trackage that isn't constrained by a freight railroad's priorities. Now, Brightline hasn't run any revenue passenger trains since March 2020, but prior to the pandemic, they operated over 70 miles of Florida East Coast trackage between West Palm Beach and downtown Miami. While service has been suspended, Brightline has been installing positive train control. Brightline originally began running with an enhanced ATC system derived from the Florida East Coast Railroad's automatic cab signaling system, which was installed in the early 1990s. In June of 2020, Brightline signed a contract with Wabtec to install their integrated electronic train management system on all Brightline and Florida East Coast locomotives. The installation of the right-of-way infrastructure will be completed in two phases, the first of which is currently being tested between Miami and West Palm Beach. The second phase will see Wabtec installing IETMS between West Palm Beach and Orlando. In advance of the Orlando extension being built out, Brightline has been upgrading the remainder of the FEC right-of-way between West Palm Beach and Cocoa, which is a distance of approximately 130 miles or 209 kilometers. The majority of the Florida East Coast main line was reduced from two main tracks to one main track with the elimination of passenger service in 1968, so Brightline is in the process of re-adding capacity to the line to support higher frequency passenger service. This does not mean the entire line will be double-tracked. As we'll see with the new extension, the route between Miami and Orlando will remain single-tracked in certain places, but they do have the land necessary to double-track the entire line should it be warranted in the future. Brightline currently has a fleet of 10 Siemens SCB-40 locomotives and 5 4-car sets of Siemens Venture coaches, each themed with a different color. The top speed for Brightline between West Palm Beach and Miami is the same as most other passenger trains in this country, which is 79 miles per hour or 125 kilometers per hour. The large number of grade crossings and the number of collisions already sustained on this section of the line will likely prevent the raising of the top speed for the foreseeable future. Brightline is projecting to run up to 110 miles per hour or 175 kilometers per hour between West Palm Beach and Cocoa, where areas of the line have few grade crossings. On the new trackage between Orlando and Cocoa, they're planning on running up to 125 miles per hour or 200 kilometers per hour as the line is being built without any public grade crossings. This means that Brightline falls short of the International Union of Railways definition of high-speed rail, which is 150 miles per hour or 250 kilometers per hour for new trackage, but it is nevertheless an exciting project. So with all that out of the way, let's get to the tour. The terminus of the Orlando extension is the already completed station at the future Terminal C at Orlando International Airport. While work is ongoing on the actual train station, this terminal and attached parking garage opened in November of 2017. Terminal C is located a mile south of the main terminal complex and is connected by an automated people mover. As we depart the terminal, you can see future Brightline tracks being laid off to the right. New signals are installed with the hood facing away from the right-of-way until they are put into service. The new intermodal station was built with space for 3 tracks to support Brightline and a future extension of Orlando's Sunrail commuter line. As we can see here, the tracks on the east side of the station appear to be slated for Brightline. As we continue north, however, we'll see a tunnel that preserves space for 4 tracks. Brightline appears to be using the 2 tracks on the west side. I doubt that Sunrail would ever cross over Brightline's approach tracks, but it is interesting to see that this station may have been built before operational details were finalized. Either way, I suppose including capacity for future expansion is better than having to add it in the future. Here are the 2 tunnels, and you can see tracks being laid in the western reach. As the people mover begins to diverge from the tracks, we'll move to the road that travels over this tunnel. As we pass under these 2 taxiways, you'll see a section of right-of-way where utility construction is still ongoing. As we pass under the people movers that connect Terminal C, Airside 4, and Airside 2, you can see that heavy construction is still being finished within the airport complex. And here is the second set of signals. As we continue north, you can see another set of signals close by, so I'm guessing this is the location of a future crossover. Alright, as that road we were just on went off to the terminals, here we are just west of the ramp we were just on and passing under another large taxiway. The ramp being built off to the right will replace the cloverleaf ramp that connects Jeff Fuqua Boulevard, which we're traveling on, and Cargo Road. An underpass to accommodate Brightline is being built under Cargo Road, and here's that existing ramp that will soon be replaced. As we approach State Route 528 or the Beachline Expressway, you can see the Brightline will have to negotiate a fairly tight curve that follows the ramp we're driving on. Obviously, the trackage we're on up to this point likely won't be rated for 125 miles per hour, but I just wanted to point out that not all of the 40-mile or 65-kilometer Orlando extension will support the planned maximum operating speeds. Incidentally, the Brightline extension is being built concurrent with the complete reconstruction of this interchange with SR 528. As you can see here, a modern directional interchange is replacing the original cloverleaf design, which will increase capacity and improve safety. The interchange isn't being rebuilt to accommodate Brightline, the tracks are simply being built next to it. As we continue the journey, we begin to merge onto the 528 Expressway, which the tracks follow all the way to Cocoa. As we approach South Goldenrod Road, you can see the barrier wall that separates the Brightline tracks from the expressway begin to diverge towards an already completed tunnel under Goldenrod Road. And here's that tunnel. As we pan to the east, you can see runway 17 left, as we still haven't left Orlando International Airport. And now we'll continue on SR 528. As we approach Narcoossee Road, you can see the beginnings of a massive grade separation that will carry Brightline over both Narcoossee Road and the interchange that accesses it. Steel girders are in place to carry the tracks over the future off-ramp. As we continue on the temporary off-ramp, we closely pass the mechanically stabilized earth, or MSE, retaining wall, which can be seen in all grade separations on this project. As we near Narcoossee Road, you can see that abutments for this bridge are formed up on the west side and appear to be complete on the east side of the road. Now we'll just use a little creative navigating to get back on SR 528 and continue the tour. Where this MSE wall terminates will be another steel girder bridge to carry the tracks over the eastbound on-ramp. Concrete pilings have just been installed for the columns on the right. Now let's take another look at this grade separation from the 528 main line. Although we've lost sight of the Brightline right away, rest assured that the tracks are still closely paralleling the expressway. As we approach State Route 417, let's take a brief detour to see where the tracks will actually cross over this other highway. As you can see, the Brightline tracks dip south of the interchange so that the actual grade separation structure is as short as possible. As we travel through this massive interchange, you get a good feel for how much more land interstates and highways take up compared to the relatively narrow footprint of a double-tracked railway. Also keep in mind, with adequate frequency, a railway like this could transport the same, if not more people, and in Brightline's case do it nearly twice as fast as SR 528. As we near the 417 main line, we see bridge piers that will support the future grade separation. Brightline's extension to Disney Springs and Tampa will likely use the right-of-way of SR 417, but that will be west of Orlando International Airport, as SR 417 acts as a beltway around Orlando. Here we are traveling north on 417 to return to SR 528. On the right, you can see that the first set of precast bridge girders have been installed. This is the last project on the extension that we won't be able to see with a drone, as we're still just inside the restricted airspace around Orlando International Airport. Back on 528, we can see the Brightline track slowly rejoining the expressway, which will happen right after this short toll break. The next interchange is for Innovation Way. This is a development that has yet to be realized, but it was originally intended to attract high-tech jobs due to its proximity to the University of Central Florida and the Orlando International Airport. The first phase of this project cost $31 million, and it included the construction of Innovation Way itself, which links Avalon Park to the Beachline Expressway. This project was completed in 2010, and as you will see, preservation of the railroad right-of-way was built into the original design of the interchange, so Brightline's construction in the area is minimal. I know that this is a toll road, but it would be nice if this could be a model for future interstate highway widening and reconstruction projects across the country, even if no passenger rail project is currently in the works. When this project was built, a federally funded high-speed rail line across Florida had been proposed, and the predecessor to Brightline, All Aboard Florida, did not yet exist. This, of course, is unlikely to happen until the federal government gets serious about fixing America's transportation and environmental shortcomings. Here we are just west of the Innovation Way interchange, looking west towards SR 417. As we turn to the east, you can see the undeveloped land surrounding Innovation Way. The newest proposal is to develop this area with warehouses. Finally, as we see the Innovation Way interchange, you can clearly see the Brightline right-of-way. This is also the first glimpse we've gotten at the right-of-way being single-tracked. Obviously, preserving a route for future railway use adds a considerable amount to the initial road construction costs, but as inflation occurs constantly, it means that overall construction costs will be lower. It also means that rail lines can be built for substantially less than they could if they had to build grade separations at every interchange. Lastly, it also means that road traffic will not be impacted by railway construction. The bridge we're approaching will carry Brightline over a railway industrial spur that allows coal trains to access the Stanton Energy Center, owned by the Orlando Utilities Commission. Electricity is generated using natural gas, landfill methane, coal, and solar at this facility. Just as Brightline is planning to use the SR 417 corridor through Orlando, they will also use the right-of-way of the so-called coal line to exit the Orlando airport. This rail line travels along the south side of the airport before it reaches the CSX main line. Sunrail will also use the coal line to access the Orlando International Intermodal Station, as they currently run on CSX's track. We can also see that this bridge is only being constructed for single track operation. Obviously, the bridge abutment is wide enough to support 2 tracks, and I know that single tracking is done as a cost-saving measure, particularly while Brightline is not running any revenue service, but I think not constructing double-track bridges is a fairly short-sighted move that I hope doesn't come back to haunt them. As we continue east on SR 528, we'll get another look at the bridge over the coal line. At this point, we see the freeway rise over a former private access road. Looking at Google Earth, we can see a single direction interchange was built here, but it appears that this may be removed. The Orlando extension is being built without public grade crossings, but I hope no private crossings will be built on the line either. Off to the right, we can see what I believe will be a future signal location. We'll see other signal structures like this in more detail later in the video, but I believe this will be just an intermediate signal as we're in the middle of a long section of single track. Before the Dallas Boulevard interchange, we'll pass over the Narcoossee River, which I hope I pronounced right, and as you can see, concrete pilings have been installed for the bridge over the river. To the east, a box culvert has been completed to allow the little creek to pass under the tracks. Here's a better view of that bridge. You can see the piling recently installed is for the second bridge pier. As we approach the bridge over Davis Boulevard, we'll see that yet again this grade separation is being built to carry only one track. Ahead we'll see another signal shed. This may be the location of an interlocking to return to two main tracks, or it may be another intermediate signal. Time will certainly tell. Back on 528, we won't see much more construction until the next private interchange. At this unmarked road that's only open for construction access, we can see a massive dirt borrow site on the south side of the Brightline right-of-way. This is another location where we see what may become a private road crossing in the future. At this location, we're near the massive Deseret Ranch, which is owned by the LDS Church. I don't know if this road provides access to the ranch, or if this road will be closed in the future, as the land north of SR 528 can be accessed from SR 520. Either way, up ahead we can see another signal shed. At this location, we can clearly see concrete bases on either side of the right-of-way, which may mean that this is an area of future double track. The poles on the right will likely be used to carry radio antennas to support positive train control. As we approach the next interchange, we see the Brightline right-of-way begin to rise in advance of the bridge over SR 520. Looking west, we can see another signal shed in the distance. As we turn east towards SR 520, we can see a pair of box culverts that have been completed to allow drainage to pass under the tracks. The bridge over SR 520 is the least far along of the major overcrossings on this project. We can see piling has been installed to support bridge piers, but that's about all the heavy construction completed at this point. SR 520 is a divided highway that connects Orlando with Cocoa and is a free, albeit slower, alternative to the Beachline Expressway. East of 520, we can see that virtually no dirt has been moved to build up the approach structure. Another culvert will likely have to be installed to mitigate this wetland area. Given Florida's high water table, water management is a big component of any large project like this and precludes the construction of most underground structures like underpasses. East of SR 520, we see a bridge over the Jim Creek that appears to be ready for bridge decking to be installed. East of the creek, we can see that an MSE retaining wall is being installed to protect the Brightline tracks from the wetland area to the south. A second bridge is also in the decking stage. The retaining wall east of this bridge appears to be complete. Along this entire project, precast concrete elements are helping to speed construction. Here we see some wall segments ahead of a bridge over Lake Charlie Road. The MSE walls appear to be nearly complete, and the bridge abutments are about to be poured. Traffic is reduced to one lane over the St. Johns Creek to allow work on the Brightline bridge to continue. It's hard to tell from the ground, but it appears this bridge is being built for 2 tracks. As we approach the massive interchange with Interstate 95, we'll see the return of the precast retaining wall. As the tracks begin to curve south to cross I-95, Brightline will cross over Pine Street. The MSC walls on either side of Pine Street are complete, and piling is being installed to support the bridge abutments. Here we are at Pine Street. And here we are above Pine Street. You can again see how Brightline curves to the south to keep the actual bridge over I-95 as short as possible. As these curves are relatively sharp, it will be interesting to see how fast trains will be able to travel through this area. East of Interstate 95, Brightline will travel on the north side of SR 528. To reach the north side, a tunnel is being built under the future elevated SR 528 lanes. This tunnel is being constructed out of curved precast concrete panels, which you can see being staged here. Obviously, Brightline will use diesel-powered trains for the foreseeable future, but I hope the size of this tunnel won't preclude the possibility of one day electrifying the line. I know there is little chance of this happening, as Brightline is a for-profit company, but I don't think any railway line should be built in 2021 that doesn't at least allow for the possibility of electrification one day. You can see that the tunnel will be relatively short in length, but the design of this tunnel and the use of precast concrete segments is fairly innovative and likely much cheaper than other cast-in-place options. Ahead, you can see that a temporary structure has been built over 528 to move dirt to the other side of the highway to build up the future right-of-way. As we look to the east, you can see where the temporary 528 lanes end and the Brightline right-of-way begins on the north side of the expressway. And here's another view of the I-95 crossing. Now let's take a look at what this construction site looks like from SR 528. You can see that just after the bridge over I-95, we transition onto temporary lanes that allow for construction of the new elevated lanes. You can see that a massive amount of dirt is being moved to build up this right-of-way. On the right, rebar for a permanent barrier wall is in place, and the lanes will shift slightly to the south. As we continue on 528, you can see a retaining wall is being installed, this time to protect the Brightline tracks from the wetland area to the north. As we approach the Industry Road interchange, you can see that the tracks once again diverge to the north in advance of the final bridge on the project. Here we are at Industry Road. The center bridge pier is complete, but the abutments don't appear to be. Just to the north of the Brightline tracks at this point is a massive concrete plant owned by CMEX that is served by the Florida East Coast Railway. As we approach the US Highway 1 interchange, we pass over the recently completed Coco Tunnel. This tunnel was built in 3 huge precast segments and was then pushed under SR 528 while traffic continued to run on top of it. Check out the YouTube channels of Jack Ferguson and the Roaming Rail Fan for great footage of this tunnel being installed. Their links will be in the description, but you can see by the change of pavement where the tunnel was installed just before we cross over the Florida East Coast main line. Now let's back up slightly and return to the Industry Road overcrossing. As we pan to the east, you can see how the westbound 528 ramps have been rebuilt to accommodate the Brightline tracks. Off to the left, we can see the Florida East Coast servicing the concrete plant that I mentioned earlier. Here are a pair of SD40-2s numbered 720 and 716. Ahead you can see the Coco Tunnel under SR 528. The tunnel forms a gentle curve that will connect the Orlando extension to the FEC mainline. The concrete wall just south of the tunnel was used to push the precast concrete tunnel segments into place. It will of course be removed soon. Just south of the tunnel, we can see the FEC mainline returning to single track. A second or even third track will likely be built to add capacity to this junction. Thousands of concrete ties are being staged to the right to build out these future tracks. And that pretty much wraps up this tour. So if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this tour of the Orlando extension. I shot a ton of video for this project, and I actually have video from all 3 cameras of a westbound run over 528 of the entire extension, so let me know if you want to see a video of that in the comments. I could probably throw something like that together, and actually that would make a wonderful Patreon only perk. If you want to support me on Patreon or follow me on social media, all of the links will be in the description. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a like or a share. It really helps out my channel. And again, thank you so much for watching. As always, I will see you all soon.